Good morning! It's your friend Goldie here, welcome. That's what we're chatting about today, headphones and stuff. I've been talking to a friend about this because this is something that seems to be important to him. Practicing quietly. He was looking to play guitar again, revisit guitar playing. Oh, but I don't want to be disturbing the neighbors and the people in the house. I got just a solution for you. And for you to the viewers. Me these days, I like to play with headphones now, and I barely play amps at home because I don't really want to get to bad terms with the neighbors or get evicted or whatever. Can I get evicted though, or get the police called on me? I'm not renting, so can you get evicted from that? I don't know. I guess these days I just want to be a bit more private with my guitar playing. And I've also come to like the more direct sound. What you're hearing now is basically what I'm hearing. Very minimal processing I just use the cab box to remove some excess low end. The kind of low end that's not really punchy, the kind of low end that's boomy and uncontrolled. So it's all very, very minimal. Kind of similar to what you're doing in the studio when you're doing a high pass filter and a low pass filter to get rid of the extra frequencies that isn't really useful in the mix when it comes to guitar. So it's very mild. I used to be pretty anal about my tone, like, oh, but I want all the frequencies to be there, because I want to sound like how this guy sounds in this song or that song. Bro, those songs, the guitar parts are curated. They have the high pass filter, low pass filter, and some editing in between, potentially. So what we talking about? Sometimes I just really get into it and practice until late night on a weekday. And so I have to be quiet. Again, I don't want any trouble with the police. I just want to be left in peace with my guitar playing. That's it. The only challenge that I was thinking about before was not having a natural sound, right? Because I only use pedals, like stomp boxes, like the Rev G3, which is my main. And then I push that through an orange pedal baby, and then into a vintage 30 speaker. But without the orange pedal baby onwards, I thought the sound might be a bit suboptimal. And so I bought a cab sim. I mentioned this before, the Joyo cab box. And I found a setting that I liked. And then I've been using that ever since. Set and forget, right? Sounds pretty sweet, man. That's also after some time tweaking the tone to get it to where I like. But this tone, whatever is set up on my pedal board, is more or less what I use on stage. And I'm very happy with it. I've always loved playing through an amp. I've been playing guitar for about 20 years. 21 or 22 years. So this is basically part of my practice routine now. Probably the main method that I use. The problem is there's so many headphones out there. You know, the beat stuff, which is very big on the lows and the bass and the treble, which to me is not really very conducive to the tone of guitar, because as guitarists we live in the mid-range. If you don't know much about headphones, you have to do a bunch of research, or you really have to go to the shop and try out different headphones. Now, when it comes to trying out headphones, if you get the opportunity to, let's say, go to an audio store or a musical instrument store where they do some studio stuff, where they have headphones which are probably going to be more suited to studio stuff, including probably guitar playing even. What I do is I do one of those jamming. You've seen those. There's videos on my channel that I do for myself, so that when I go and test some in-ear monitors, or when I try some, like for example this one, right? I go to YouTube on my phone plug in the headphones, and then play that video on YouTube of my extended guitar playing so I can listen to how the tone is. I can assess, okay, the bass is sounding a bit neutral. Yeah, that's okay. The mid-range is bold. That's pretty good. The highs, yeah, it doesn't sound veiled. That's pretty good. So yeah, you probably notice I'm not using my usual in-ears, which is the 64 Audio A60. It's a custom made to my ears. That's what I normally use. But I bought these because I needed something that I can get out of the house with, because the 64 audios, they're not cheap, man. I get a bit paranoid, and I also get paranoid when I'm wearing the in-ear monitors for extended periods of time because it's so close to your eardrum. I don't know, it probably doesn't matter, but I'm just a little bit paranoid. But I wanted something that I can bring outside, that I really had to worry if it gets broken or whatever, stolen. What I'm using here is the Sennheiser HD620S. These are closed back headphones. I also have my Beyerdynamic DT900 Pro X. They sound pretty good. If I was to compare, let's say, the Beyerdynamic DT900 Pro X and the Sennheiser HD620S, I would say the mid-range in here is probably on the neutral side. It's either a little bit recessed or neutral. Whereas in the Sennheiser 620S, it's quite bold, which is really good for playing guitar. This one here, the low end is a bit elevated. However, I wouldn't say it's the low end that's thumpy, right? It's more like a soft low end, but it's enhanced, right? Enhanced, or a little bit accentuated. This is a bit of a slight V shape or something, but it's okay for playing guitar. It does the job pretty good. The highs on this are a little, how would you say it? Mechanical or artificial? I don't know. The low end on these 620S is a bit, I would say, on the neutral side when it comes to guitar playing. But when I'm listening to music or, YouTube videos or something, it seems to be okay. But there's just probably something about the frequency that the guitar gives that this one kind of chills out. There is low end. It just doesn't sound as extended. But the 64 audio that I use, the A60, that is pretty much my benchmark. That thing is, I would say, it's pretty excellent for guitar playing. Guitar players also use that on stage for on-stage inner monitoring. I've never used it like that because I use earplugs. Some people hearing this will probably say, oh, there's no low end. I would say it's more on the neutral side. And in the high end, I'd say the high end is relaxed. I think it's okay because the meat of the sound of the guitar, as I said, is in the mid-range and the upper mid-range. And these headphones gives that well. I'm not trying to sell you these headphones. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I paid for this with my own money. It does, yeah, like I said before, it does come at a cost, but I caught this thing at a discount. Basically, a bit more than half price. I think it's about $390 or something like that. And then with the discount, the little sale that the shop had, it was a bit over 50% discount. So I got a pretty good deal. So yeah, with my own money again. There is another headphone that I kind of liked, which is the Shure SRH840. That one is also at a reasonable price, and it's closed back. The thing I'm worried about with the Shure is that the cups are a little bit shallow, So I was a bit worried that it's not gonna have as good of a seal. This one has a deep cup, but sometimes I have to wiggle it to get a good seal. That's important too, because the reason why I bought this, even though I already had the Bear Dynamic DT900 Pro, which is an open back headphone, is because sometimes, from time to time, I like to play guitar down-tuned. And I don't actually down-tune the guitar. What I do is I use the whammy pedal to down-tune it. So it's gonna be awkward and weird when you're playing something like drop D, and then at the same time you're hearing the strings through the open back being drop D. It creates a weird, awkward dissonance. And I don't like that. It throws me off. And that's why I opted for a closed back. The good thing about the open back though is that it doesn't get too hot. Now, I haven't used this yet in full summer, but I have a feeling that this is gonna get hot. Who knows? Summer is gonna be in about a month or two. And in that time it's gonna be full fat heat, and then perhaps I will leave a comment on the video for you guys to see. If you don't want to go to the shops and try out some headphones because you're lazy or whatever reason, then do some heavy research on the internet. Or you can just go ahead and get some 620Ss. I'm not saying I recommend it. I'm not trying to promote it. I'm just saying I've already done the research and I got something for a certain price point, for a certain type, closed back. Be aware though that the impedance on this is a bit higher. Like these DT900 Pros, I forgot what impedance they are. They're pretty easy to drive. These ones, you have to put the volume up a little bit more. I haven't tried this. I don't remember if I tried this straight to the phone, or because when I tried it at the shop, they gave me a DAC to plug into my phone, and then I plugged in the headphones to the DAC. I don't remember if I actually tried to do it direct. I don't know. So if you go to the route where you're gonna go to the shop, make a video of you riffing and soloing. Do like a direct tone, not like you got the speaker here and then you're recording with the mobile. Not like that, bro. Do some direct recording, let's say to the pedal, maybe to some kind of cab sim on the computer or on hardware, and record that like what I do. You know, you're not gonna hear no string noise. It's all pure signal. Do like a 10-minute video or something. 10-minute, maybe even like a 5-minute or 10-minute riffing video, and then 5-minute, 10-minute of leads video. You put that on your YouTube or somewhere so that you can pull that up as an audio sample to compare headphones with. This video really applies to the ones who aren't using those headphone amp type things like the Boss Katana Go or like the Waza Air. And then you also have the Spark Neo. This is not for those users. This is if you want to use headphones for your existing gear that has some facility to use headphones. You also got to take into account the comfort that it'll give you, because you're probably going to be wearing it for some time. Because if it's not comfortable, you might be playing for 30 minutes or something, but that might be enough to cause you some discomfort that you'll start to dread using the headphones. And just remember as well, because it's isolated, being a closed back, it might feel a little bit unnatural, maybe even claustrophobic. You'll get used to it. I'm used to it. No big deal. You're a human being. You're adaptable. Observe the sound stage as well, if it's sounding wide. This one's got an okay sound stage. Probably not as wide as like the A60s or the Shure SRH 840. But I think it does the job pretty good. The bold mid-range is really what helps me retain these headphones. If you use in-ears though, you're gonna have better isolation, or at least for the most part, or typically, because it's right in your ear. I went to a DJ store and then I tried out other headphones and nothing really stood out. The only thing that really stood out, because I've also tried the other Bear Dynamics. I also have the Bear Dynamic DT770 Pro X, I believe, one of the new ones. And bro, I don't like it. For guitar, I don't like it at all. It's very V-shaped. it sounds a bit harsh on the high end, and then the mid-range is a bit sucked up, which is again your main place in the frequency spectrum. So you have to keep that in mind. That's a very important thing as a guitar player. So typically you'll be wanting something that's neutral or flat response or good in the mid-range. Something that's comfortable, whether you like an isolated closed back or if you're okay with an open back, if you're not going to be down-tuning your guitar with a Digitech whammy or something. Perhaps the build quality, these are built pretty good. There's metal parts and strong plastic parts. It feels very solid. And I knew that because part of the research. But yeah, a close contender I would say is the Shure SRH 840A. I was going to say the M50X by Audio-Technica, but I think that one has probably too much bass. I didn't get to try that along with the other headphones that I tried because at the time the shop didn't have the M50X, so I only remembered the M50X from one time I tried it. I was definitely overwhelmed by... I was a bit wowed, maybe not overwhelmed, but I was wowed by the powerful bass. But at the same time, I was thinking, would that be good for guitar? Probably not. Although I'm open to trying it again with my riffing video on YouTube to really assess the sound, if it's recommendable for guitar players. Other than that though, I don't really know what other headphones I would like to try because I would be going beyond the price point that I would like to be staying in. Now with my experience with these, I don't really do any post EQ or anything to make the sound suitable to this. And that was one of the main criteria that I got when I was going to buy the headphones. I wanted something that was already good off the bat, which this one is. Like I said, the bass is a bit neutral and the treble is a little bit relaxed, but overall, for the most part, for the big picture, this works for me. I would say if I was gonna have a good tone dialed in for stage or for rehearsal, I would take that tone home and it would work with these. It's transferable. I'm not gonna miss too much. There's not gonna be too much of a deviation. Most likely just a little bit, which is going to be super acceptable to me. If you're doing a close back, you might want to have a break here and there to avoid some fatigue. Or if you're the kind who likes to play in relatively lower volumes, you might not need to. But that's just a note. But I'm very confident now with the tones that I'm getting with the headphones. If I get a good tone with the setup here through the headphones, I'm gonna be confident in bringing that out to rehearsal, to my pedal baby, going through the vintage 30 cab. I wouldn't hesitate. It would be no problem. It'll work great. Some of you are probably already using headphones to practice on or in-ear monitors. I'm pretty curious, man. What are some of you using? Why did you pick that? Why do you keep on using it? What's your experiences with it? Unfortunately, I don't really have a way to let you hear these because I don't have one of those ASMR ear mics, or binaural microphones. That would be good. You put the headphones over that, but I think those are pretty expensive. But just remember, man, if you want to go to the shop and try it, look, I have a couple of videos that I recorded, no talk, high gain riffing. You can probably use that too. It's going to be super acceptable as a sound sample for when you're comparing the headphones at the shop. Write notes if you have to. Maybe if you bring a friend, tell your friend what the differences are. Maybe have them listen to it and then they can tell you so that, you'll retain. If you forget what the headphones sound like, your friend might say, oh, didn't you say that this one had like a scoop mids? Oh yeah. Write your findings down if you have to. Because for some of you, it might be the kind of purchase that you just want to purchase once and then be done with it. I get it.